Hello, welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about something very important. Of course, I talk about something very important every time I come here because this channel is fully dedicated to discussing important things that inform you so as to empower you to make the right decisions as far as your real estate investment in Nigeria is concerned. And we don't just explore real estate investment in from its entrepreneurial angle. We explore it both from the legal angle, and that makes a lot of sense. And of course, I believe you would have seen a couple of my other videos that are right on this channel, and if you haven't, do it to check them out because they would of course empower you and inform you with the right information so as to make the right decisions moving forward. My name is Raymond Ijeomah, and I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. I also serve as a managing director of Fortreal Rei Ltd. All right, let's go right into what we want to talk about today. So today I want to talk about a will. Of course, I talked about a will briefly in one of my videos, but I want to streamline the conversation in this particular video and make it as short as possible. All right, so is a will a title document? Is a will a title document? A lot of persons live with the conception that the fact that someone had written and given them a particular property in a will automatically empowers them to sell that property. And then, of course, the fact that they do sell such properties from under the shadows actually lead to multiple lawsuits, and you end up finding buyers who were not properly informed, um, get into issues in the course of transacting with such persons who sold a particular property or properties on the basis of a will. And the truth about it, I like to always tell my clients that if you're buying a property from someone on the basis of a will, then you must, in the course of your investigation, carry a lawyer alongside, because certain things must be done before the person would possess the right and the capacity to sell that property. It is not just enough for your name to be in the will as a beneficiary, but that you have done the proper and the right things before you are able to sell that property. All right, so let's start by understanding what a will is. So a will is simply a document, right, that expresses the intention of someone about how his estate, his properties, his tangible and intangible properties, assets, would be shared after his death. So simply put, I'm carrying a diary, of course, and in this diary I decided to write down, upon my death I give my property at Lagos Island, specifically at number blah 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 blah, to John, my first son. Number two, I give my property at number so so and so to Joy, my first daughter. Number three, I give my Rolex wristwatch and all my rings and all my rings to my wife. I give all my cars to my wife. I give, of course, her name will be mentioned. I give. It continues like that till the man exhausts all that he has as possessions. Now, this document in this context will constitute a will. And you have to note that a will doesn't take effect until the maker dies. A will does not take effect until the person who made the will kicks the bucket, right? And by bucket I mean iron bucket. Okay, so uh, the will has no power. There's no efficacy attached to the will until the person dies. And that is the point where power shifts from the maker of the will to the people who he had appointed in the will, who are known as executors. Right? So in the will, there's always a part where the man, the maker, appoints Raymond Ijeomah one as executor, John Felix as executor, uh, John Olumide as executor, and possibly three persons as much as he would want, and of course those that he would trust to handle. Some persons simply just name lawyers as executors, right? So it depends entirely on what the person wants to do. So those persons who are appointed as executors in the will, of course, in this video I do not want to talk about the technicalities as to wills and the probate practice itself. I just want to focus on educating you in the line of how to transact properly when the title or the subject, there's reference to a will as far as the property in the property transaction. That's what I want to do here. Okay, so what was I saying? So such persons who are appointed in the will upon the death of the maker of the will applies to probate, applies to the registry, so that probate will be granted. Technicalities, of course, but the point is, after the person dies, the maker of the will dies, those persons he had appointed in the will apply to the registry, and the registry will empower them to carry out the instructions that had been given by the maker of the will to the letter. Every instruction that was given must be carried out to the letter, and such instructions would include the burial, how he wants to be buried, and all of that. Okay, so it is on the basis of the right that has been given from the registry to the executors that the executors in turn will then prepare another document, which is referred to as an assent, to the beneficiaries. So, like I said in the example, Raymond was written as number one on the list as the person who the maker had given the property at the island to. And actually, this is where the misconception comes into play. The fact that the man says, I give the property on the island at number so and so to Raymond Ijeomah, that is not a transfer in title. That phrase in that document doesn't by any means transfer that interest or title to Raymond Ijeomah, who is a beneficiary in this context, right? What it simply does is that it expresses the man's intention to give that property to Raymond Ijeomah, who is a beneficiary. The people that would possess at the end of the day the right to give that property, transfer interest in that property to Raymond Ijeomah, who is the beneficiary in the will, are the people who I said are referred to as the executors. Now, it is those executors who would execute or prepare and sign an assent, which will now properly vest title in the beneficiary. And until that is done, there is no proper transfer of interest in that property, no matter how beautifully couched and prepared the will is. Of course, there are, like I said, technicalities to these transactions, but in summary, how it works is there's a will. From that will, some people are empowered to execute the will, to carry out instructions in the will. Upon the death of the maker of that will, there is a flow of title to the executors, a subtle flow of title to the executors, and they themselves will only be able to have the capacity will come upon them after they've applied to probate, and probate grants them that authority, right? And after that authority is granted, the executors now will then prepare another document which is referred to as an assent, like I said, and in that assent, title will now be vested in the beneficiary officially. So when next someone comes to you with a will as a title document, do well to kindly and humbly tell the person that no, a will is not a title document, and certain procedures must be done before you will even think of picking interest in buying that property from that particular person. And I have to say this, that only one executor shouldn't do the signing of that assent. By law, generally, they all must sign that document. So as to, and the reason they even appoint more than one is so that there will be an insistence on the writing being done, so that one doesn't just wake up and do things unilaterally, or do things the way he pleases, maybe because one of the sons or one of the daughters had promised him, okay, let's sell this property behind them, and when I sell the property, you will take so and so percentage from the proceeds of the sale, right? So that helps to strengthen the trust, and to strengthen the fact, or ensure that the man's instructions are carried out to the letter. And that reminds me of there was this day I was coming back from court, and I joined one of the learned seniors in my office complex at the time to drive back to the office, and he was telling me about a case that a bad case that he had, that he went to court for, and what happened sale was simply on the basis of the fact that one of the executors went behind us and prepared the title document in favor of the guy. There was a collusion to make that happen, and eventually the other executors, of course, rose up against it. And here at that point we were just having a conversation, and then of course somebody had to be blamed. And in the summary of our conversation at that point was that the lawyer will be blamed, because the moment the seller's lawyer saw that there was only one executor that signed that assent, a question should have been asked: where are the others? Right? And this, like, as with due respect to anyone that will feel offended, especially lawyers, maybe he wasn't aware that only one executor should ordinarily sign an assent. They all should sign, so that title will be properly vested in the beneficiary, right? And long and short, it was a bad case because the writing was obviously not done, and that really helps you, because now that you are aware, you would appreciate the fact that if you are being misled, you would find a way and get out without anyone trying to cajole you. So the point is, a will is not a title document, and if you want to buy on the basis of a will, certain things must have been done before you go ahead and make any transaction in that regard. I believe this video or this information has helped you, and of course if it has, do well to subscribe to this channel, check out my other videos, turn on the notification, and expect more of these. And of course you can also share this video with your friend and colleagues or friends who you think this information will be very important to. And with that, I'd like to say bye bye.